In 1943, in the remote mountains of Norway, a small group of Norwegian resistance fighters embarked on a daring mission that would alter the course of the war. Their target was a heavy water plant at Vemork, essential to Nazi Germany's nuclear weapons program. The goal? To stop Hitler from building an atomic bomb before the Allies. The Nazis and the heavy water. During World War II, Nazi Germany was engaged in a race to develop atomic weapons, and heavy water was a critical component in their efforts to build a nuclear reactor. The only plant in Europe that produced heavy water was at Vemork, in the mountains of Norway, guarded by the Germans and surrounded by some of the most rugged terrain in Europe. If the Nazis succeeded in creating an atomic bomb, it could change the balance of power. Stopping this plant was vital to preventing a German nuclear weapon. The operation was planned by the Norwegian resistance, with support from British Special Operations Executive, SOE. The mission was given the code name Gunnerside, and it involved a small team of specially trained commandos. They knew the odds were stacked against them. Vemork was heavily guarded, and the terrain was treacherous. The men selected for the mission were mostly young Norwegian patriots, many of them familiar with the local terrain. They were led by 24-year-old Joachim Ronneberg, who had been recruited into the Special Operations Executive, trained for sabotage, and was determined to do whatever it took to stop the Nazis from getting the bomb. The journey to Vemork on the night of February 27, 1943, the commandos set out from their hideout in the freezing Norwegian wilderness. Their route took them across frozen lakes, through deep snow, and over rugged mountains. They had no backup and limited supplies, and the risk of German patrols discovering them was constant. The journey was exhausting, and the threat of discovery loomed large. But the team pressed on, determined to succeed against all odds. The raid on the plant. On the night of the raid, the team reached the Vemork plant. They made their way through the dark, carefully avoiding the German guards. Their mission was simple but incredibly dangerous: destroy the heavy water production facility without alerting the Germans or triggering an alarm. Once inside, they planted explosive charges on the facility's critical equipment. The men worked swiftly, relying on their training and nerves of steel to complete their task. They faced an almost impossible challenge: one mistake, and the entire mission could be doomed. After successfully setting the explosives, they escaped into the Norwegian night, making their way back into the wilderness without being detected. The explosion and aftermath. The following day, the plant exploded in a massive blast, disabling the heavy water production line. The mission had been a success, but the consequences were far from over. The Nazis immediately began plans to rebuild the plant, and the resistance had to move quickly to prevent further production. The raid forced the Germans to divert resources to rebuild the facility, but it wasn't the end of the story. The Allies knew the Nazis would attempt to resume production, so the sabotage efforts continued in a series of follow-up missions, ultimately leading to the destruction of the facility in 1944. The legacy Operation Gunnerside is considered one of the most successful sabotage operations in history. Not only did it disrupt Nazi attempts to build an atomic bomb, but it also struck a blow against the German war effort, demonstrating the power of resistance and the courage of ordinary people fighting for freedom. Joachim Ronneberg and his team became heroes in Norway, and their bravery in the face of overwhelming odds remains an inspiration to this day. Their mission was a reminder that even in the darkest days of war, courage and ingenuity can make a difference. Conclusion: Operation Gunnerside proved that even small, covert operations can have a massive impact on the course of history. By disrupting the Nazi atomic program, the Norwegian resistance helped prevent a future where Hitler could control the ultimate weapon. Their courage, sacrifice, and determination helped shape the outcome of World War II. Operation Gunnerside was a true triumph of the human spirit.